The wind screamed across the white wasteland, sharp as knives. Snowflakes swirled like tiny blades, cutting through the endless blizzard. Captain Ryan Hale pulled his thermal cloak tighter around his body as he pushed forward through the storm. His helmet lights glowed faintly, slicing small tunnels of visibility through the heavy snow. The temperature outside was dropping fast, -90, and falling. His boots sank deep with every step. The communicator in his helmet crackled, static hissing. No voices. His ship was gone, lost in the crash hours ago. He was completely alone on this frozen planet. Ryan's mission was simple: survey the mining site, collect data, and return to orbit. But a meteor storm had ripped through his craft, throwing him down into the icy wilderness. His suit power was running low. If he didn't find shelter soon, he'd freeze to death before sunrise. He checked the scanner on his wrist. No life signs, just white static. Nothing lived in this kind of cold, and at least that's what he thought. Then, he heard it. At first he thought it was the wind. A faint, thin sound carried between the gusts. But then it came again, higher this time. A cry. A sound too soft to be human, yet too desperate to ignore. Ryan stopped walking. His breath fogged his visor. He turned slowly, trying to catch the direction. The sound came again, a trembling, broken voice calling for help. "Hello?" He shouted, his voice muffled by the snow. No answer. Only that soft, heartbreaking cry. His training told him to ignore it, to stay on course, find shelter, save his energy. But something deep inside him refused. He couldn't just walk away from that sound, he followed it. Step by step, deeper into the storm. Visibility dropped to almost nothing. His scanner beeped faintly, a weak signal ahead. Then through the fog of snow he saw something small lying in the white powder. At first he thought it was a pile of frozen metal, but as he came closer his heart stopped. It was a child, not human. The small body was wrapped in thin layers of silver cloth, torn and covered in frost. Her skin was pale lavender, glowing faintly beneath the ice. Her eyes, large, silver, and glassy, blinked weakly up at him. She tried to lift her hand but couldn't. Her lips moved, trembling with words he didn't understand. Ryan dropped to his knees beside her. Hey, don't move. "I got you," he said, his voice shaking. The girl blinked again, her breath fogging in the cold air. She whispered in broken English, barely audible. "Please, help. My mother." Ryan froze. He stared at her. A child, maybe 10 or 11, stranded in a deadly storm. Alien. But scared. Weak and crying, just like any child from Earth. He checked his scanner. Her body temperature was dangerously low, heartbeat faint. She didn't have much time. His orders from command were clear. No contact with alien life. The mining colony had strict laws, right? Any interference could break galactic law. But how could he leave her here to die? Ryan looked around. There was nothing but snow and darkness. The storm roared louder, like a monster closing in. He had no choice. "Hang on," he said, gently wrapping his arms around her small body. She was light, fragile, like a feather frozen in glass. Her skin was cold but strangely smooth, almost shining under the light from his helmet. As he lifted her, she moaned softly, whispering again. "Mother, trapped. Please save." Ryan didn't understand, but the fear in her voice told him enough. He turned back the way he came, scanning desperately for shelter. His visor map flickered. A faint signal appeared, an abandoned mining shelter less than half a mile away. That was his only chance. He pushed through the snow with all his strength, the girl held tight against his chest. Every step felt heavier as the wind screamed in his ears. Ice formed along his armor joints. The blizzard grew worse, a white wall of fury. Halfway to the shelter, he thought he saw movement, a dark shape sliding through the storm. Too large to be human, too quiet to be wind. It disappeared again behind the snow. Ryan's pulse spiked. Something was out there, following them. He tightened his grip on the girl and moved faster. His legs burned, lungs ached, but he didn't stop. Behind him, a low growl echoed faintly, deep and cold, like metal scraping against stone. Finally, through the storm, the old mining shelter appeared. A gray metal structure, half buried in ice. The door was frozen shut. Ryan kicked it hard, once, twice, 3 times, until it cracked open. He stumbled inside, sealing the door behind him. The world outside vanished into white silence. Inside it was dark and cold, but at least the wind was gone. He gently laid the girl on a dusty cot. Her breathing was shallow. He quickly activated his suit heater and placed it near her body to share warmth. For a moment, there was only the sound of his own heartbeat. Then faintly the girl opened her eyes. "Thank you, human," she whispered, her voice weak but soft. Ryan stared at her, his mind full of questions. Who was she? Where was her mother? What was that thing outside? But before he could ask anything, a strange sound echoed through the shelter. A deep, metallic thump from outside. Something heavy was walking in the snow. Ryan froze, eyes wide as the shelter's walls began to shake. The storm howled again, and somewhere in the blizzard, something growled back. The old mining shelter groaned under the storm's weight, every gust of wind sounding like a scream. Inside, the dim emergency lights flickered weakly, casting long, shaky shadows on the metal walls. Captain Ryan Hale worked quickly, his hands trembling from cold and fear. He placed the small alien girl near a heating unit, which hummed faintly as it struggled to start. Her purple skin had lost its glow. Frost clung to her eyelashes. For a moment, Ryan feared she was gone. "Come on, don't do this," he muttered, adjusting the heater. A thin beam of warmth spread through the air. Slowly, her chest began to rise and fall again. Ryan let out a long breath of relief. "You're safe now," he whispered, though he wasn't sure if she could hear him. The shelter smelled of rust, oil, and old metal. Broken tools and shattered glass littered the floor. It looked like no one had been here for years. Yet strange markings covered one wall, glowing blue symbols drawn in circles. Ryan crouched near them. They weren't human. He ran a gloved hand over the cold metal, tracing the curved lines. "What happened here?" he murmured. A soft sound made him turn. The girl had woken up. Her silver eyes reflected the flickering light. For a moment she stared at him silently, frightened, unsure. Then in a soft, trembling voice she said, "You help me?" Ryan nodded. "Yeah, you're safe now." The girl sat up weakly, pulling the silver cloth tighter around her small body. She looked about 10 years old, maybe younger, though there was something ancient in her eyes. "My name's Ryan," he said, lowering his voice. "Who are you?" She hesitated, then touched her chest. "Lyra," she said softly. Ryan smiled gently. "Nice to meet you, Lyra," but her eyes filled with tears. "My mother?" "Under the ice," she said, her words broken. "She can't move," Ryan frowned. "Under the ice? Where?" Lyra pointed toward the north wall. "There, deep." Her voice trembled. "Humans hurt her." The word struck him like a knife. "Humans?" he repeated. "Are you sure?" She nodded slowly. "Big ships fire, they dig. They take light from ground." Ryan's stomach tightened. He knew what she meant. The illegal mining projects his command had denied existed. They were supposed to be unrecorded, hidden from galactic law. But if they were real... He looked down at the child, this small, trembling alien who had no reason to lie. He sighed heavily. "I'm sorry, Lyra," she tilted her head, not understanding. "Sorry?" Ryan shook his head. "Nothing, just rest for now." But Lyra didn't rest. She began to hum softly, a strange melody, high and light like wind chimes in a dream. As she hummed, the glowing symbols on the wall began to shimmer. The air around her shimmered too, faintly warmer. Ryan stepped back, stunned. "What are you doing?" Lyra stopped humming and looked up. "Song of warmth," she said simply. "Mother, teach me." Ryan's scanner blinked. The temperature had risen 3 degrees. It wasn't much, but it was impossible. He stared at her, amazed. "You can change temperature?" Lyra smiled faintly. "Only little. Mother stronger." Ryan's heart ached. This child lost in a storm, using the last of her strength to survive, and still worried about her mother. He turned on his communicator again, hoping the storm had cleared. "Command, this is Captain Hale. Come in." Static. He tried again. "Command, I've found someone. Non-human life form. Repeat, non-human life form, requesting..." A voice broke through, cold and sharp. "Captain Hale, you are ordered to maintain silence on all communications. Return to your beacon immediately." It was General Marlowe, his superior. Ryan's jaw tightened. "General, I found a survivor, a child. She says our miners attacked her people." Static. Then Marlowe's voice again, slower, dangerous. "Captain, do not engage. That is an alien. Leave it." Extraction team will handle the situation. The signal cut out. Ryan stared at the communicator. Handle the situation. He knew what that meant. They'd destroy all evidence, including the girl. He looked back at Lyra. She was drawing again on the wall with her finger, glowing lines forming a rough image. It showed a tall figure trapped in ice, surrounded by machines and drills. "That's your mother?" he asked. Lyra nodded sadly. "They took her heart light," she whispered. "Without it, she'd die soon." Ryan's chest tightened. He didn't understand what heart light meant, but he knew time was running out. Suddenly, a noise from outside. A deep, scraping sound. Metal against ice. Then, she cried. "Blizzard beast." Ryan grabbed his rifle and looked at the door. Shadows passed by the narrow window. Huge, heavy shapes moving through the snow. The shelter lights flickered again. Ryan stood frozen, his heart pounding. Then silence. He turned to Lyra. She was shaking, eyes wide with terror. "What is it?" he asked. She whispered. "Not beast. Not from sky. Made by humans." Ryan's blood ran cold. He stepped toward the window again, and for a split second, saw it. A massive silhouette, part creature, part machine, walking through the storm. Red lights glowed in its chest, like burning eyes. It was looking for them. Ryan took a slow breath, gripping his weapon tighter. "We're not staying here," he said. "We're finding your mother." Lyra stared at him in shock. "You help?" Ryan nodded firmly. "I started this rescue. I'm finishing it." Outside, the storm roared like an angry god as the metal creature turned its head toward the shelter door. Ryan whispered, "Stay behind me, Lyra." The girl nodded. The sound of heavy footsteps echoed closer and closer. The frozen shelter was about to become a battlefield. The wind outside roared like a living thing. Each gust slammed against the shelter walls, making the old metal groan in pain. Captain Ryan Hale stood in the center of the dim room, his pulse racing. The lights flickered again, once, twice, then held steady, trembling faintly. The small alien girl, Lyra, sat near the heater, clutching her thin silver blanket. Her silver eyes watched the door, wide with fear. Ryan gripped his plasma rifle tighter. He could hear it now. Heavy steps moving in the snow. Slow, deliberate, the sound of metal grinding with each movement. "Lyra," he said softly, "how big is this thing?" She shook her head, her voice trembling. "It is not one thing. It is many things, joined. Metal, bone, anger." Ryan frowned. "Joined?" Lyra's eyes filled with tears. "Humans made it from the bodies of my people. They say—" She stopped, her throat tight. "They say it was to protect minds. But it kills everything." Ryan felt a chill that had nothing to do with the cold. His people, humans, had done this. The noise grew louder. A deep vibration passed through the floor. Dust fell from the ceiling. Ryan slowly moved toward the window slit. Outside, the storm swirled white and wild. For a moment, he saw nothing, only snow and shadows. Then a shape moved, massive. A towering figure walked through the storm, half covered in ice, half made of shining steel. Its arms were thick, jointed like cranes. Its face was a skull of frozen metal, glowing red from within. Every step it took cracked the ice below. Lyra whispered, "It smells the energy. It hunts warmth." Ryan cursed under his breath. "It's coming for us." He checked his rifle, charge 47%. Not enough for a long fight, but he had no choice. The creature stopped outside the shelter. Silence. Only the sound of the storm. Ryan aimed at the door, finger on the trigger. Lyra hid behind a metal crate, clutching a glowing crystal she carried from her scarf. The crystal pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. Then, the door buckled inward. Once. Twice. A third time. It ripped open. The creature roared, a sound like thunder tearing through the world. Its red eyes locked on Ryan. He fired. A burst of blue plasma hit the creature's chest, blasting off chunks of ice and metal. But it didn't fall. It swung its clawed arm, smashing through a wall. Metal shards flew like knives. Ryan ducked and rolled, grabbing Lyra before the roof beam collapsed. "Move!" he shouted, dragging her toward the back exit. The creature smashed through the wall, snow exploding inward. Its metal limbs tore through the shelter as if it were made of paper. Ryan fired again and again. The shots burned holes. But the creature repaired itself, wires fusing together like healing veins. "What is this thing?" Ryan yelled. Lyra cried, "It feeds on energy." "It cannot die with fire." Ryan glanced at her. The crystal in her hands glowed brighter each time the creature roared. He realized something. The beast was reacting to it. "Lyra, that stone, it's attracting it." He said. She looked down, terrified. "It is my mother's heart light." "I can't leave it." The creature lunged again. Ryan shoved her aside and fired a charged blast into the floor. The explosion sent both of them flying into the snow outside. They tumbled down a slope, snow burning their faces. Ryan landed hard, his rifle skidding away. The creature roared behind them, tearing through the ruins. Ryan struggled to stand. "Run!" Lyra grabbed his hand and pointed toward a cave barely visible through the storm. "There, safe place." They ran. The cold bit into their skin, the wind screaming around them. Behind them, the creature gave chase, its heavy steps shaking the ground. Ryan fired backward once, the blast hitting its leg, slowing it, but not stopping it. The cave entrance was narrow. Lyra slipped inside first. Ryan followed, diving just as a giant claw smashed the ice behind him. The creature stopped at the entrance, too large to enter. It roared in frustration, slamming its fists against the mountain. Snow fell like rain. Inside, Ryan collapsed, breathing hard. His visor flickered from damage, sparks dancing across his armor. Lyra sat beside him, clutching her crystal close. "Thank you," she whispered. Ryan shook his head. "Don't thank me yet. That thing's not going away." Lyra's eyes glowed faintly in the dark. "Mother said the beast guards the way. Under the ice lies the truth." Ryan looked at her, confused. "What truth?" Lyra turned toward the deep tunnel ahead. Faint blue light shimmered within, like veins glowing through rock. That humans built the monster to hide what they stole. Ryan's chest tightened. He thought of the orders from General Marlowe, the silence, the secrecy. He clenched his fists. "Then we'll find it. We'll find your mother. And the truth." Lyra smiled weakly. "You sound like her." Ryan raised an eyebrow. "Like who?" she whispered. "Like someone who still believes humans can be good." Outside, the creature howled again, shaking the ground. Its red lights burned through the snow, waiting, watching. Ryan looked deeper into the cave. Glowing crystals, ancient carvings, a faint path leading underground. He tightened his grip on the rifle. "Then let's move before that thing figures out how to fit through that hole." Lyra nodded, following close. As they walked deeper into the cave, the storm's sound faded. In its place came a soft humming, like hundreds of voices whispering through stone. Ryan slowed, his hand tightening on the gun. "Do you hear that?" Lyra nodded. "The voices of the fallen?" "My people," Ryan shivered. "Let's hope they don't mind visitors." The path glowed brighter, pulling them deeper underground. Behind them, the creature's shadow loomed over the cave entrance, waiting for its next move. And deep beneath the ice, something ancient began to wake. The tunnel stretched endlessly, glowing faintly with blue veins of crystal. Each step echoed softly, swallowed by the cold silence of the underground world. Captain Ryan Hale walked ahead with his rifle raised, the beam of his helmet light cutting through the mist. Beside him, Lyra held her glowing crystal close, the one she called her mother's heart light. The deeper they went, the warmer it became. The air shimmered faintly, carrying a strange hum, soft like a whispering choir buried inside the walls. Ryan slowed, running his fingers along the glowing stone. It felt warm, alive, pulsing faintly beneath his touch. "These crystals," he murmured. "They're not just minerals." Lyra nodded. "They are life," she said softly. "Our world breathes through them." Ryan frowned. "Your people, they live with these." She smiled weakly. "We protect them. They heal, they sing to us. But humans came. They wanted to take their light. They called it energy source." Ryan's chest tightened. He remembered the secret reports he'd seen, rumors of living energy buried deep under alien ice. He'd thought they were lies. Now he wasn't so sure. They walked further until the tunnel opened into a vast cavern, and Ryan stopped dead. The ceiling stretched high above, glittering with thousands of crystals that shimmered like stars. In the center stood a massive machine, human-made, digging deep into the glowing ground. Wires spread from it like black roots, sucking the light from the walls, and beside it, a figure trapped inside a crystal cocoon. Lyra gasped, dropping her crystal. "Mother!" she cried, running forward. Ryan followed, stunned. Inside the transparent crystal lay a tall alien woman, her skin the same soft lavender as Lyra's, but glowing with a deep golden light. Her face was peaceful, but cracks spread across the crystal like veins. Lyra pressed her small hands against it. "Mother, I'm here!" The crystal flickered faintly, like a dying heartbeat. Ryan scanned the machine. His visor blinked red warnings. Human origin detected. Manufacturer, Marlowe Industries. He muttered, "Marlowe, what did you do?" Lyra looked up at him, tears in her silver eyes. "They took her heart light to make this." She pointed at the machine. "They drain it to power their ships." Ryan clenched his jaw. "They're using her as a battery." He felt sick. The glowing veins in the walls dimmed slightly with every pulse of the machine. The entire cavern was dying. Lyra fell to her knees, whispering softly in her language, a song of sorrow that echoed across the chamber. The crystals around her began to hum in return, responding to her voice. Ryan stared. It was as if the whole cave was alive, listening to her grief. He looked back at the control console, its screen still active. It displayed a message: extraction level 82%, energy stable. Estimated core collapse 4 hours. If this continued, the entire system would cave in, burying everything, including them. Ryan tapped the controls, trying to shut it down. Access denied. Password required. He cursed under his breath. "Of course." Lyra turned to him, voice trembling. "Can you free her?" He shook his head. "Not yet. But I can try to stop the drain." He pried open the control panel, wires sparking. His gloves burned as he ripped one line after another. The machine screeched, lights flickering violently. The hum in the walls shifted, angry now. The crystals glowed brighter, pulsing faster. Then a voice boomed through the static of his helmet. "Captain Hale." Ryan froze. The voice was calm, cold, familiar. "General Marlowe," Ryan said through gritted teeth. "Step away from the alien structure," Marlowe's voice ordered. "You are violating direct command protocol." Ryan stared at the glowing cocoon. "She's alive, General." "You're draining a living being," Marlowe chuckled, dark and low. "She's not a being, Hale. She's an energy source." "You're standing inside a gold mine." Ryan's blood boiled. "You lied to us. You said this planet was uninhabited." "Doesn't matter," Marlowe replied. "The galactic courts don't care what we take from dead worlds. Bring the specimen or don't bother coming back." The signal cut out. Ryan stood frozen, anger flooding through him. Lyra looked up at him, eyes shining with tears. "Humans always take." "That's what Mother said." He lowered his head. "Not all humans." He reached into his suit pouch and pulled out a power cell. Small, glowing blue. "This should overload the core if I attach it to the main conduit." Lyra tilted her head. "Overload?" "It'll stop the drain," he said quietly. "But it'll also bring this place down." Lyra stared at her mother's still face. "Then we must wake her first." Ryan hesitated. "How?" Lyra looked at her crystal, her mother's heart light. "Her light is part of me. I can give it back." Ryan's eyes widened. "You'll die," she smiled sadly. "Better I fade than she." Before he could stop her, Lyra placed the small crystal against the cocoon. It sank into the glowing surface like water. The cavern filled with light. A deep tone echoed through the air, a heartbeat, strong and clear. Cracks raced across the cocoon, and with a soft shatter it broke apart. Lyra's mother, weak but alive, fell forward into Ryan's arms. Her eyes opened slowly, glowing faint gold. "Human," she whispered, her voice like music. "You helped my child?" Ryan nodded. "Yes, but we need to leave now." She smiled faintly. "You carry mercy. That makes you rare." The ground trembled. The machine screamed as its systems failed. Crystals began to fall from the ceiling like glass rain. Ryan lifted her onto his back, grabbing Lyra's limp body, her glow fading fast. "Stay with me, kid," he shouted. Her mother's hand touched Lyra's cheek. "She gave too much," she whispered. But her spirit burned strong. The walls cracked wider. The cavern was collapsing. Ryan looked up at the tunnel. "We have to move." The storm's echo returned from above, and far away through the open shaft came a familiar roar. The creature was coming back. The tunnel shook violently as Ryan Hale carried Lyra in his arms, her small body glowing faintly with fading light. Behind him, her mother, weak but standing, followed with trembling steps. The crystals around them cracked and dimmed, their once beautiful glow turning to pale ash. Every heartbeat echoed like thunder. "The cave was dying! Keep moving!" Ryan shouted over the rumble. But the alien woman, Lyra's mother, stopped for a moment, pressing a hand against the wall. The crystal beneath her palm flared weakly, as if recognizing her touch. She whispered, "They are all connected. If the heart dies, the planet dies." Ryan turned back, his face pale. "Then we stopped that machine for good." Above them, faint light seeped through a hole in the ceiling in the way out. He climbed toward it, his boots slipping on broken ice. He could still hear the creature's distant roar outside, mixed with the eerie hum of human engines. As he reached the surface, cold air blasted his face again. But this time the sky was not empty. Dozens of human dropships hovered above the icy field. Their lights cut through the storm like knives. Ryan's heart sank. They were here, the military. A voice crackled through his helmet. "Captain Hale, you've made quite a mess." It was General Marlowe. Ryan clenched his jaw. "You came to clean up your crimes, General?" Marlowe's laughter echoed through the storm. "Crimes, oh Hale, you still believe in morality. I believe in results." One of the ships descended, its engines roaring as snow whipped around it. Soldiers in white armor stepped out, weapons drawn. Ryan shielded Lyra behind him, keeping his rifle aimed. "Stand down," Marlowe ordered, stepping forward in his black exosuit, a bulky machine glowing with red lights. "You've disobeyed direct orders. Surrender the alien subjects." Ryan's voice was calm but sharp. "They're not subjects. They're people. You've drained their world for power." Marlowe smirked. "You sound like one of them." He pointed his arm cannon at Ryan. "Hand over the specimens and maybe I'll let you live." Lyra stirred weakly in Ryan's arms, her voice barely a whisper. "Ryan, don't let him." "Take Mother." Ryan's heart twisted. "I won't." He set her down gently and stepped forward, raising his weapon. "General, I'm giving you one last chance to shut this down." Marlowe laughed coldly. "You think you can threaten me, Captain? Look around and you're surrounded." Ryan's visor flickered. He could see a dozen heat signatures moving through the snow, soldiers spreading in a circle. Still, he stood tall. "Maybe I can't stop you," Ryan said, voice steady, "but I can show the galaxy what you've done." He tapped his wrist device. The red light blinked, a transmission signal activating. Marlowe's face changed instantly. "You're broadcasting this?" Ryan nodded. "Live to the fleet network. Every channel, every ship." Marlowe's expression twisted into rage. "Cut his signal!" he shouted. The soldiers fired, plasma shots lighting up the storm. Ryan dove behind a rock, his armor sparking from near hits. He returned fire, each shot clean and fast. Lyra's mother raised her hands, eyes glowing gold. The crystals buried under the snow began to hum, rising through the ice like living roots. They wrapped around soldiers' legs, pulling them down into the snow. The ground erupted with light, ancient energy awakening. Ryan turned to her in awe. "What are you doing?" Her voice was calm but fierce. "Protecting my child. Protecting what's left of our world," Marlowe roared, firing his cannon. A blast of red plasma hit the ground beside them, exploding in a burst of flame. The shockwave threw Ryan backward, his helmet cracking. Snow rained down from the cliffs above. The storm turned wild, wind howling like a beast. Ryan pushed himself up, coughing. His visor blinked red. Armor integrity 23%. He saw Marlowe stomping toward him through the smoke. "Do you see now?" Marlowe shouted. "We are the top of the chain, Hale. This is humanity's destiny, and to take, to rule, to survive." Ryan spat blood. "You call that survival? You call that being human?" Marlowe raised his cannon again, but something changed. The storm darkened, and the air shimmered with a deep blue glow. Lyra was standing again. Her eyes burned brighter than ever, her hair floating in the energy wind. The small crystal in her chest flickered alive. Ryan stared in shock. "Lyra, you're—" She smiled faintly. "Mother shared her light with me." Marlowe aimed at her. "Stay back, creature." Lyra lifted her hand. The ground beneath Marlowe cracked open as energy surged upward. A shock wave of blue light burst across the field. knocking the soldiers off their feet. The machines short-circuited, ships losing control and crashing into the snow. Ryan shielded his face from the blinding flash. When the light faded, Marlowe's armor was cracked, glowing red from the inside. He stumbled, fury burning in his eyes. "You think this changes anything?" he shouted. "You can't stop the order. Humanity will take what it wants." Ryan looked him in the eye. "Not today." He raised his rifle and fired one last shot, and straight into Marlowe's power core. The explosion tore through the storm, throwing Marlowe back into the snow. His armor went dark. Silence fell. The storm softened, the wind fading to a whisper. Lyra fell to her knees, exhausted, the glow around her slowly dimming. Ryan rushed to her side. "You did it, Lyra," she smiled weakly. "Mother said. The storm hides the truth, but truth always finds light." Her mother approached, touching Ryan's shoulder. "You have changed the course of 2 worlds, human. But more will come. Humans never stop." Ryan looked at the falling snow. "Then I won't stop either." He picked up his communicator, now glowing faint blue. The broadcast had been sent. Proof of humanity's crimes recorded and shared. Above them, the storm clouds opened slightly, revealing the first stars in the sky. Ryan looked at Lyra. "Let's get you both out of here." But far away, in the distance, another ship entered orbit. A new voice crackled faintly over the channel. "Fleet Command to General Marlowe's unit. Report status. Begin full containment protocol." Ryan's face hardened. "It's not over yet." The blizzard rose again, carrying the promise of war. The blizzard howled louder than ever, a wall of white fury swallowing the world. Snow twisted through the sky like ghosts, and the ground shook with the sound of engines. Human warships descending from the clouds. Captain Ryan Hale stood in the snow, gripping his rifle. His breath came out in white puffs inside his cracked helmet. Behind him stood Lyra and her mother, both glowing faintly, fragile lights in a sea of chaos. The quiet moment after Marlowe's fall didn't last long. From the clouds, new ships broke through, sleek black carriers marked with the same insignia, Marlowe Industries. Ryan's eyes widened. "They sent reinforcements." Lyra's mother frowned, her golden eyes narrowing. "Your kind does not give up easily." Ryan nodded grimly. "Neither do I." The dropships landed in a circle around them, kicking up blinding snow. Dozens of soldiers stepped out, armored, armed, and silent. Their visors glowed red in the stormlight. A cold, familiar voice came through the comms. "Captain Hale, surrender immediately. You are aiding hostile species and have committed treason against the human command." Ryan smirked bitterly. "Funny, you call mercy treason now?" The voice ignored him. "Lay down your weapon. The aliens will be terminated." Ryan looked back at Lyra and her mother. The girl clung to her crystal, her silver hair fluttering in the freezing wind. He whispered, "Stay behind me. No matter what happens." She nodded, her small voice trembling. "Don't die, Ryan." He gave a faint smile. "Not planning to." The first blast came without warning, a plasma bolt tearing through the snow, exploding near Ryan's feet. The impact threw him back, the shockwave ringing in his ears. He rolled, firing blind through the storm. His shots flashed blue in the blinding white, striking one soldier down. Another beam grazed his arm, burning through the armor. Lyra screamed. Her mother raised her hands, summoning glowing threads of golden light that rippled through the air like ribbons. The threads struck the soldiers' weapons, short-circuiting them one by one. But for every soldier that fell, 2 more came. Ryan crouched behind a shattered ice boulder, breathing hard. "They just keep coming," he muttered. The snowstorm thickened, the sky flashing with energy fire. Each explosion reflected off the crystals buried in the ground, turning the storm into a battlefield of light. Lyra ran to him, kneeling beside his cover. "Ryan, they want the heart light. If they take it, they'll make more monsters." Ryan looked at her, then at the crystal glowing faintly against her chest. He realized she was right. That was what Marlowe wanted all along. He spoke into his comm. "Command, this is Captain Hale. If you can hear me, humanity has gone too far. You're destroying worlds for greed. If this message reaches anyone, stop them," Static answered. Then a single response, signal traced. "Target locked." Ryan looked up. From above, a massive gunship appeared through the clouds, bigger than all the others. It aimed its cannons directly at him. He had seconds. "Down!" he shouted, diving toward Lyra and her mother. The gunship fired. The explosion was like the sky tearing apart, blinding, deafening. The ground split open, sending shards of ice flying into the air. Ryan hit the ground hard, the wind knocked out of him. His helmet visor shattered completely. He could barely see, barely breathe. Through the smoke and falling snow, he saw the gunship hovering low, and from its open ramp, a figure stepped out. Marlowe. But this time he wasn't wearing a suit. He was the suit. Half his face was metal now, glowing red veins running down his neck. He had fused with alien tech, becoming the very thing he had created. Ryan's eyes widened. "What did you do to yourself?" Marlowe's voice was distorted, half mechanical. "Evolution, Hale. You cling to weakness, I embrace progress." He raised a metallic arm. Energy crackled in his palm. Lyra's mother stepped forward, shielding her daughter. "You learn nothing," she said calmly. "You destroy what you fear." Marlowe's eyes flashed. "And I fear nothing," he fired. A beam of red light shot from his hand, striking the ground. But Lyra raised her small hands, screaming, her voice piercing the storm. The light bent midair, twisting around them and reflecting back at Marlowe. The explosion threw him backward into his own soldiers. Ryan pushed himself up, staring in awe. "Lyra, how did you—" She looked at him, her silver eyes glowing bright. "The crystals hear me now. They remember." Around them, the ground began to hum. The blue veins of energy lit up across the snow, connecting the battlefield. Each pulse grew stronger, faster. Ryan realized what was happening. "You're awakening the planet." Lyra nodded slowly. Mother said its heart still beats. Beneath the ice, Marlowe stood again, furious. "You'll kill us all, girl." Ryan stepped forward, rifle in hand. Maybe it's time humanity learned fear again. He fired one last shot, directly at Marlowe's core. The blast hit true, sending cracks through the metal body. At the same time, Lyra and her mother touched the ground, channeling light into the ice. The earth roared. The storm exploded outward in a ring of pure energy. Snow turned into a glowing mist, and every human machine froze midair, encased in crystal. Ryan fell to his knees, shielding his face from the blinding light. His ears rang. His body ached. When he opened his eyes, the battlefield was silent. Every ship, every soldier frozen in glowing blue ice, a silent grave beneath the storm. Only he, Lyra, and her mother remained standing. Lyra collapsed, her glow fading. Ryan caught her, holding her close. "You did it," he whispered. "It's over." Her mother looked at the horizon, the storm calming, the sky opening to reveal a faint sun. "No," she said softly. "It's never over. Not until your kind learns balance." Ryan looked at his frozen comrades, men and machines trapped forever in crystal. He felt no triumph, only sorrow. He whispered, "Maybe this is what it takes to remember who we are." Lyra's hand weakly touched his chest. "You are good human," she murmured. "Don't let them forget." Ryan's eyes burned. "I won't." The wind grew gentle, brushing the ice like a sigh. Above them, the storm's roar faded into silence, and for the first time in centuries, the planet saw clear skies. Ryan stood, carrying Lyra in his arms. Behind him, the battlefield sparkled under the pale sun, a frozen reminder of the war between greed and mercy. And far beyond the clouds, Earth's fleets began to move. Unaware that one human had already defied them all, the storm was gone. For the first time in 1,000 years, the alien world lay silent beneath a pale silver sun. Snow shimmered like glass. The wind that once screamed now whispered softly through the frozen plains. Captain Ryan Hale stood at the edge of the battlefield, his boots sinking into crystal snow. Around him, the frozen shapes of soldiers and machines glittered like statues, trapped forever in blue ice. Each figure told a story. Men who followed orders. Machines built for greed and the storm that swallowed them all. Ryan's armor was cracked, his oxygen running low, but his heart was steady. In his arms, Lyra rested, her small form weak but still warm. Her faint glow flickered with each breath, the light in her chest pulsing like a fragile heartbeat. Her mother stood nearby, tall and graceful even in exhaustion. The golden hue of her eyes had dimmed, yet her presence still carried strength, quiet and ancient. Ryan looked at her. "Is she going to be okay?" The alien woman placed her hand over Lyra's heart. "Her light is fading," she said softly. "She gave too much." She saved all life here, even yours. Ryan's chest tightened. Then we'll save her. Whatever it takes. She looked at him for a long moment as if seeing through him. Then she smiled, sad but full of warmth. You have already done more than your kind ever has. You chose mercy over conquest, compassion over command, Ryan shook his head. If that's what being human means, then we forgot it long ago. The woman knelt beside Lyra, placing both hands over her daughter's chest. A golden light spread from her palms, wrapping around the child like sunlight melting frost. Ryan watched in silence. Slowly, Lyra's breathing steadied. Her glow brightened again, soft, gentle, alive. He let out a shaky breath. Thank you. But the woman's face grew pale. The glow from her eyes began to fade. Wait. Ryan reached forward, realizing what she had done. You're giving her your energy. She smiled faintly. A mother's duty never ends. Her light dimmed completely, leaving her body motionless, peaceful, as if asleep. Lyra stirred, blinking. Mother? Ryan lowered his head. She saved you. The little girl sat up weakly, her small hands trembling as she touched her mother's face. Her voice broke. She gone? Ryan nodded slowly. She's part of the planet now, part of the light she protected. Lyra wept softly, her tears glowing as they fell onto the snow. Where they touched, tiny blue flowers began to bloom, small, bright and alive in the endless ice. Ryan knelt beside her, resting a hand on her shoulder. She believed in you. That means something. Lyra looked up at him, her silver eyes full of sorrow. And something else. Hope. Will humans come again? She asked. Ryan looked at the frozen ships, at the silent sky. They always come again. But maybe next time, they'll remember this place. He pulled a small device from his suit, his communicator cracked but still blinking faintly. It was recording. He switched it on. This is Captain Ryan Hale, he said, his voice steady but heavy. To all human fleets, to every command listening. This planet is alive. Its people are alive. If we take from it again, we destroy ourselves. He paused, glancing at the endless frozen horizon. We've called ourselves explorers, builders, survivors. But we forgot what made us human, empathy. The ability to care for something that isn't us. He looked down at Lyra, who clutched his hand tightly. I met a child who showed me what real strength looks like, and I made my choice. He pressed a final command on his device. The message began transmitting through the storm, bouncing off satellites, reaching the ships above, spreading across the network, might impossible to stop. Somewhere high in orbit, alarms began to sound in the human fleet. Admirals shouted orders. Commanders argued. But Ryan's message kept spreading, unstoppable, a voice of truth cutting through centuries of greed. He smiled faintly. Now they'll have to listen. Lyra looked up. What will happen now? Ryan stood, staring at the glowing horizon. Maybe they'll come to destroy me. Maybe they'll come to understand. He turned to her, his eyes soft. Either way, I'll protect you. She smiled, the same innocent, pure smile she'd had the day he found her in the blizzard. You are a strange human, she whispered. But good, he laughed quietly. Yeah, I get that a lot. Together they began walking toward the rising sun. The ice under their feet sparkled with new life, tiny patches of color spreading across the once dead world. Behind them, the frozen battlefield remained, a monument of silence, where light and shadow stood still. As they reached the ridge, Lyra turned back one last time. Her mother's body had already turned into golden dust, drifting upward into the wind. The dust rose higher, scattering into the morning sky like stars. Ryan watched it for a long moment, then whispered, Rest easy. We'll finish what you started. Lyra slipped her hand into his. Promise, he nodded. Promise. The storm was gone. The world was still. And as the first sunlight touched their faces, the ice beneath their feet shimmered, glowing not with cold but with warmth. A new dawn had begun, a human and an alien child, walking side by side. Not enemies, not conquerors, just survivors carrying the spark of hope across the endless snow. And somewhere in the distance, across the vast cold of space, humanity began to ask itself a question it had long forgotten. What does it truly mean to be human?